This is a podcast called 25 Whistles, talking football, and they all wear a whistle. Yeah, it's stupid, but what did you expect? It's a podcast called 25 Whistles. 25 Whistles.
Appreciate you guys being here. Got a big show, and we're going to start off with, quite possibly we've had a few big guests, but A-tier guests. Stephen A. Smith is A-tier for sure. So that's what we're going to start with here. In New York, we were at Fanatics Fest, and we spent some time with Stephen A. Smith, and he hates the Cowboys.
He does. He's very open about that.
He's ESPN's biggest personality by far at this point, probably highest paid. But he hates the Cowboys so much, and Eddie still had him after the interview sign his Cowboys hat.
On purpose.
Which is pretty funny. Okay, let's get the show started here with Stephen A. Smith. Here with Stephen A. Smith, which I have to say, listening to your podcast now, do you feel freer to be able to talk about other things? Because obviously, I love hearing your takes on sports, but to hear you talk politics and pop culture, is that refreshing for you to be able to spread out in that way?
Well, for me, it's what I wanted to do. It's what I've always wanted to do. I certainly understand that that's not necessarily the right place to do those kind of things for ESPN. It's a sports network. And I remember specifically before 2020, around 2017, 2018, when so many things were going on and Jimmy Pitaro came in as president of ESPN, his whole thing was to get us as a network back and focused on giving the sports fans what they come to ESPN to see. And if we're being, as somebody that's considered the face of the network, it's my obligation to highlight when the boss is right. We did do that. We got away to some degree from giving the audience what they came to ESPN to see. So I was in complete support of him in terms of redirecting our focus back to making sure that when folks come to a sports network, by and large, that's exactly what the hell you're giving them. But in the same breath, I think that when you walk away from that to those particular channels and you're out here living your own life, you're paying taxes, you're dealing with crime, you're dealing with so many different things that are going on in the real world, I wouldn't call it an obligation, but it is a good thing to do to show that you're socially conscious, you're paying attention to what's going on, and you're not one-dimensional in terms of what you think about and what you feel. And so I like the idea of having a platform like my podcast / show where over iHeartRadio, over YouTube, I'm really showing the world what's on my mind on a day-to-day basis that in some cases extend beyond the parameters of sports.
Is it different going viral to a new crowd when you have an opinion that's not sports? Because I'm sure you say something sports, it goes viral. It's the same people yelling at you. But I see you go viral for all kinds of takes now.
It's crazy. It's a lot of fun when I'm doing pop culture and entertainment for the most part. It wasn't fun when I had to talk about P. Diddy. It wasn't fun when I had to talk about Will Smith. It wasn't fun when I had to talk about Jada Pinkett, but it was the news, and I thought that it was important to touch on those things to provide a perspective, because I'm not out here trying to insult or character assassinate anybody. But it's important that when somebody does something wrong, including myself, that we're willing to highlight and point out what you did wrong there. I think that a lot of times in our society, what makes us very, very cruel and I would say irresponsible is when we use any little thing as a means to character assassinate somebody. You make a mistake and that's who you are. You make a mistake, that's who you are. No, it isn't. It's what you did in this particular instance. So what? You made that mistake. Somebody points it out. Tomorrow you do something good, and we'll point that out. And that's what I try to do, because as a journalist, as a personality, as somebody that's been in media for the last 30 years, I know the responsibility that I have, and one of the biggest responsibilities that I have is to be fair and to make sure that what you do in your worst possible moment doesn't define who you are. And a lot of times you have people, particularly in the world of politics, well, if you're black and you're talking about somebody that's a Republican, well, they must be a racist. No, they're not. That's wrong. Don't do that. You disagree with them on this issue. Attack that issue.
Well,
now, if there's a body of work,
there's no nuance anymore.
If there's a body of work that is indicative of what you are, then that's different. But on a case-by-case basis, and the same thing with, on the liberal side, when conservatives say certain things, I'm not about that. It's about, okay, today this is what the story is. Tomorrow it might be something else. Next week it might be something else. Let's go on a case-by-case basis because I think we'll all find out we got common ground and we'll get far more of us would get along than people realize. I truly believe that.
All right, 3 final things. Olympics first, the 2024 basketball team, do you feel like they did what they went out to do? The Serbia game was obviously pretty close. Yep. Did you expect there to be close games? And then secondly, who's the 2028 team?
I expected the games to be relatively close. I didn't expect it to be the nail-biter that it was against Serbia. I didn't expect them to struggle against France the way that they did. And then Steph Curry exploded in both games. I expected Steph Curry to look better prior to the semifinals in a gold medal game. But that didn't happen. I expected Jason Tatum to play more. That didn't happen. There were a couple of things that you could look at. But overall, bottom line is, USA went to France to win a gold medal, and they brought home the gold medal. So they did their thing. As it pertains to 2028, you won't see LeBron there. You probably won't see KD there. You won't see Steph there. But I do think you'll see Anthony Edwards. I do think you'll see Jason Tatum.
Will he go?
I think, because I don't think Steve Kerr will be coaching in 2028. I don't think he'll be coaching the team. I don't think Jason Tatum is going if Steve Kerr's coaching. And I wouldn't blame him after that experience, to be quite honest with you, because Steve Kerr is one of the great, great coaches this game has ever seen. But there's no excuse in hell that you can walk up to Jason Tatum before a game and say, I might not have time to play you today. This is one of the greatest players in the world and a reigning, defending NBA champion who's been a first-team All-NBA player the last 3 years. And by the way, 2 guys in Drew Holiday and Derek White who deferred to him for 82 games during the regular season and the postseason. You finding time for them, but not him. Jason Tatum could play 4 different positions on a basketball court. How do you excuse not finding time for him? And that's why he looked so bad when you did put him in, because he never knew when he was going to play. And he couldn't catch any rhythm or anything like that. So I look at it from that standpoint, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, they came home with the gold, and that's what matters most.
All right, last question.
Stephen A. Smith, you talk about getting along and all of us getting along. I want to talk about my Dallas Cowboys. Yep. I want truth. I want the truth, Stephen A. Smith. I want the real, honest opinion of my Dallas Cowboys this season.
They're going to suck this year. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to have a tough time making the playoffs. And I think even if they do make the playoffs, they're going to go home early like they always do. You got Mike McCarthy there. I think this will probably be his last year coaching. It wouldn't surprise. I think that Dak Prescott is going to get re-signed. I don't think he deserves $60 million. I don't think when you've been a quarterback for 8 years and you got 2 playoff victories to show for it that you deserve $60 million. I just don't believe that. I'm talking about $60 million per year. I don't believe that. But Jerry Jones will probably end up having to pay him anyway. And I think that in a hard cap league that is the National Football League, I think one of the changes that needs to take place is that we need to see NFL teams become more sticklers for giving quarterbacks this kind of money, because the money that you give them costs you and prevents you from giving others money. And there's other people that deserve some of that cash. Listen, the quarterback is the most important position, but the caveat that we've got to add to it is that if you produce, if you don't, listen, there's a lot of quarterbacks that can get half of Dak Prescott's dollars and still win 2 playoff games in 8 years. And so I look at it from that standpoint, and I'm about production. You got to be able to produce and get it done. And if you don't get it done, I'm not saying you deserve to be broke. I'm not saying that you don't deserve to be in the league. I'm not saying you don't deserve to be paid. But we don't need to be spending that inordinate amount of money on quarterbacks that don't know how to win in January. We don't need to be doing that.
It's like the pulpit. They're cheering out there.
Yeah,
all right.
I hear that.
Stephen A. Smith Show on iHeartRadio. Also, by the way, congrats, New York Times bestseller.
Thank you.
That's A+. A memoir, straight shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes. Big fan. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Stephen
it.
A. Smith, everybody.
Stephen
A. Smith, everybody. Woo! Yeah, please,
People want me to say?
The question is, can you? Like, it's not will you, but can you?
I absolutely cannot, but I will.
Okay.
Brian, I did have a question about that, though. What's the one song you know every word to?
Ooh, I know every word to a lot of songs, but my go-to karaoke song
Let's go, baby.
is the Cheers theme song.
Wait, who karaoke's? Who even has that in the machine?
That can't be in the book.
I actually don't think people do. I just know it by heart.
You just go sing it a cappella?
Acapella. Listen, I can't sing no way, so it don't matter if they got the music or not. But it makes people feel welcome.
I agree with that.
Karaoke.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
just That's like, you say my karaoke song, I get up and sing Yankee Doodle, and you're like, that's in karaoke? Like everybody knows it, but
But right, so what's the key to karaoke?
Everybody have a good time.
Singing a song that at some point everyone can join in on.
That's right.
People of our era, the young kids, obviously they don't, but anybody our age, once you get to where everybody knows that part, and they sing with you, and now you don't sound as terrible as you did before.
When they sing with you, you don't sound as terrible.
When they sing with you. When you're singing by yourself, you still suck.
Okay, let me ask you about people thinking you suck or are awesome.
Okay.
Now that you are having opinions publicly a lot of the time on media, right? You have a lot to say. That's different because if people don't agree, but you can go viral for many reasons now based on your opinions.
Yeah.
Different than when you played, especially. Because when you played, social media wasn't as in your face.
Yeah.
But now if you say something that you have a hot take that people will let you know, how has that been? How's that adjustment been to everybody having a voice?
You know what? I think everybody having a voice is cool. I mean, I think that's what our country wants to give people the ability to have.
See, I don't think that. I hate people.
It's also something I think if people are entitled to based on our freedoms and rights. Now, as far as the criticism is something you allow. If I don't want people to hear me, I can just shut the hell up.
Or block them like I do.
But it's not even that, though, right? Because here's the thing. Because of my jobs, I'm going to talk, right? I'm going to answer questions. Like, my job is to give my opinion. It's a lot of times I'm not the one putting it out there on social media, or I don't expect it to be on social media, and somebody that doesn't like it or that likes it clips it. Like, it is what it is. The biggest part is being authentic to yourself. Like, you can't tell me something about me that's true that I don't know, right? You can't tell me that I think this or feel this if I don't. And so to me, the opinions of the people who are outside, who hear what I say or see me do something, they don't really matter to me because I'm only doing or saying what I want to do anyway.
Yeah, I just block them. I mean, that's really good. I like what you say. It's a lot of integrity in that. You strong. I just block them.
I only block people to protect them from me.
Oh.
Like, so if somebody says something to me that makes me want to be too honest with them, right? Because, like, I'm sort of like, I just want to go look at your profile pic, or I want to go look at the other things you tweet. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you have any deficiencies that are visible through your words or your profile picture, I'm going to kill you.
Now
right?
we're talking.
You do that too.
And so I've gotten to the point now, though, where that's bullying, right? Or I'm punching down. And so if I get that feeling like I want to flame you, those are the people I block.
Opinions on. Let's go number one. The Dallas Cowboys this season.
Oh, they're going to suck.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean.
Why though? Why
I'm
this time?
But the thing
That's
is, though,
so
like,
funny.
so here's what's funny. The Dallas Cowboys have won 12 games the last 3 years. And no matter what we want to say about their playoff performances, the team hasn't sucked. The Dallas Cowboys haven't been a bad football team.
They just choke at the end.
There's a possibility this could be a bad football team. There's a possibility that this team won't make the playoffs. That teams like the Washington Commanders and New York Giants will be more on their level than they ever have been. And so I do think you put this squad who is either praised too highly when they win, or to me, criticized too harshly when they lose.
Yes.
You put this team that's in the spotlight in the worst position because you haven't worked to make it better.
Next up, Caleb Williams and what he is walking into in Chicago with that roster.
The best position we've seen a rookie quarterback or number one overall pick walk into in the history of football. I think the only thing close to it would probably be Andrew Luck, and that's because Peyton Manning was hurt the year before, which gave them that pick. We have to remember Chicago used Carolina's pick, who could really use another number one pick, to get the number one overall pick after playing better toward the end of the season, building around him in the offseason as far as GM Ryan Poles and his vision for some of the skill players, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze drafted, Cole Kmet at the tight end position. I think he has an opportunity to have a really good year.
Any chance that J.J. McCarthy injury could actually be a blessing in disguise?
I mean, I think there's a chance we could see it that way, but I don't know if it is, right? Like, if J.J. McCarthy is really good year 2 on, are we going to sit here and say he's really good because he didn't play last year? Or is the optimist in me or the pessimist, I don't know which one it'll be, going to say, hell, he would have been good as a rookie. Imagine what he could be had he had that year of experience. But I do think the caution in which they are handling his injury is a blessing. Saying, hey, look, kid, take the year off. Let's get healthy. Let's find a way for you to be back and better next offseason when you can play with one of the best wide receivers in football.
How real is C.J. Stroud?
The realest. Absolute realist. I think I separate Patrick Mahomes from all quarterbacks. I think he's the anomaly, right? Patrick Mahomes is Michael Jordan. Like, you should compare all the other players in Michael Jordan's era outside of Michael Jordan. Patrick Mahomes is that. I think C.J. Stroud has an opportunity to win the MVP this year, be in the AFC Championship, and sort of start a legacy in Houston like none we've ever seen, in what has been a very dysfunctional organization.
Josh Allen with no wide receivers.
Oof. Still a bad mother effer, though. It's Josh Allen, man. I think Josh Allen is so talented. I think he's so tough. But I also believe he needs the help. I think Josh Allen needs great players around him to protect him from himself, from forcing the ball into coverage, from trying to run the football too much, from trying to do too many things. And I think, not to mention now, defensively, Jordan Poyer is no longer there. Tre'Davious White, who had been injured, is no longer there. Matt Milano, to me, who is their best player, tears his pectoral. Like, this team is so just sort of at a deficit from a roster standpoint compared to what they've been in years past. I think he'll struggle this year, not only with production, but with keeping himself from putting the team in bad position, trying to do too much with all that talent.
Jordan Love got paid.
Yeah.
Who's his number one guy?
I mean, I think it all depends on how you look at it. Romeo Doubs would probably be my first answer. I think Dontavian Wicks is probably the most talented of the group. And I think somehow, because maybe he's gotten money or because we're trying to be focused on who the number one guy is, in a group of wide receivers where they don't really need a number one, we watched them play last year, and it's sort of like, throw the ball to the open guy. What a novel idea. Oh my gosh, he has the best matchup. He's wide ASS open. Throw him the ball. Whereas we see so many times with these number one dudes, you get 180 targets and 40 of them are bad targets because we expect you to win. I think that team would be good, but also adding Josh Jacobs and Matt LaFleur finally getting to run an offense he wants to run, not the one Aaron Rodgers okays, is kind of what we saw the last half of the season.
Final question when it comes to the NFL this coming season. Like, we're seeing a lot of things different most visually. Is the kickoff rule, is this going to be normal in like 3 weeks? Or is this always going to look weird to us?
It's always going to look weird to people like us. But I do think it will get normal, and we will want to normalize it when the play is no longer ceremonial, right? Think about it. We've all waited for the Super Bowl. We're fired up. And damn, Harrison Butker kicks it 8 yards in the end zone. The dude takes, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. It was a time for us to all stand up, snap pictures, or go get snacks. Whereas I think now, because there's ways to gain advantages if you're the kicking team as well, also ways schematically to win in the dynamic kickoff if you're the return team, we'll see more exciting plays.
Not the final question, but the bonus question. Is Dak worth $60 million?
Oof. You're worth what they pay you.
Will Dak get $60 million?
Close to, for sure.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. If he does it now, no. They're talking about this deal getting done. He said it could be done. He wants it done before the season. And he says the talks are going well, as close as it's ever been. I would only do that if I'm Jerry Jones, if I can get him to sign for what we're seeing Jordan Love and what Trevor Lawrence and those guys.
Like high 55, 56.
Yeah. But if I wait, then yes. But if you sign now, you got to sign the deals these other dudes sign. What makes you worth $60 million when I'm competing with myself?
That he's just the latest on,
Yeah, but that's such a huge jump, though, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe you think Dak's better than Joe Burrow. I don't.
I don't either. He does play, though.
Yeah, he's available for sure. But my point is,
I don't even like the Cowboys, so I ain't fighting
my
the
point
Cowboys.
is, if I'm negotiating the contract, that's what I say. Like, you're signing this deal now, the going rate is 55. You're going to take 55. If not, if I don't give a little, to give you 56.
Big fans. Appreciate you.
Awesome, man, thank you so much, man.
A+.
Thank you guys for the time.
Thank you, dude.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We were just talking to Fred, and Fred said that you say wild stuff.
You're the crazy one.
He said you were the crazy one.
I do have a good time with life.
What were you like as a kid?
Damn. Yeah. Y'all got some questions. I was always wild. Inner city, single mom. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, yeah, so you had to, you know what I'm saying? It was always a struggle. It was always, you had to make it a, you know, like almost crap or get off the pot.
Yeah,
and so that's what life was for me. So I always wanted to lighten everybody's life. And I think that's what built my personality, was just every time I'm around somebody, I want you to leave the room in a better mental place than you walked in the room if you're around me.
Okay, well, what if you're on the field? Obviously, you're running the defense, middle linebacker. Did you talk a lot across the line?
Oh, I talked to everybody. Because it really, and I've told a story, I can tell y'all a bunch of stories. I talk trash for me and my teammates more than to hurt your feelings.
It wasn't so much at them, it was mostly for you?
It was a blind, like, I didn't see people's faces when I played. I just saw a blank. You're trying to, my coach tells me to get here and your coach tells you not to let me get there. So it was a blank slate, but the antics of it was to hurt your feelings while I got there. And it was just fun, and it happened a lot of times, and I have a bunch of stories about guys I really got to and guys I couldn't get to, like
who could you not crack?
I couldn't crack Jonathan Ogden. I was talking trash to J.O.
But how do you know you couldn't crack them?
Because they laugh. Like, he'd be like, and people would hear, they'd be like, hey, they told me about you. Ray Rice, when he was with and I know all the crap that happened with Ray Rice, and we won't get into that, but there was guys that, like, I used to try to get to, and they'd look over, and you see when I called your mom, you know, your mom has herpes, or your sister has syphilis.
I never heard that one.
And I would see it, and they look at me, and then they kind of smile like, oh, no, dudes told me you're going to say this, and you're going to try to hurt my feelings, so I'm not going to let you. So then at that point, it was just fun. Now it's just the chess match of football. But, yeah, I just love the interaction between people. I love the back and forth between people. And if you're going against me, I'm going to try to hurt your feelings and see if I can get to you.
I have a question regarding what we hear today about the Dolphins, if just Florida in general, with you playing college ball, Florida. You're just Florida guy, right? Florida guy.
Yes, I'm from Atlanta, but I went to UF and then
state of Florida.
Dolphins.
Yes.
I'll never leave Miami. I'm going to live in Miami the rest of my life.
So here's my question about, you're the perfect guy for this conversation. Athletes like a Tua or anybody with the Dolphins, and it gets cold, they can't play in cold. Is that a real thing, or is that a media thing?
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Early in the season, 2005, 6, the Denver Broncos, like when they were 12-4, they went to the playoffs. We beat the hell out of them in Miami because they came down to Miami. They couldn't play in 100 degrees weather with all the humidity. And even last year, you saw Tua. As soon as I knew they were going to Kansas City, and it was going to be
brutally cold,
8 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm like, these dudes have never played in this. They can't play at the top level, especially how Mike McDaniel's offense is. That spread offense and that timing stuff with all the speed guys. A 4-3 guy in 8 degrees runs a 4-5. So these little safeties can sit with them. So it does, to your question, it does mean something. And that's what the Dolphins have to overcome. The Dolphins are going to win 10, 11, 12 games this year. They're going to be at the worst 10-7. They're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to have to play the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Chiefs. They're going to have to play. The AFC is loaded. Don't sleep on Shane Steichen and Anthony Richards and the Colts. Don't sleep on Trevor Lawrence and them with Jack. The AFC is loaded right now. The Dolphins are going to whoop a bunch of ass in the regular season, like we've seen for the last 3 years. They're going to get to December and January and have to beat up on a very good team in the AFC, and that's what it's going to be.
But then what can you do to make sure that whenever you go to the cold, you don't freeze. Like
Practicing
you
the
go
AC, right?
You go train in the cold. It's like when you guys would turn the volume up, like if you're going somewhere loud. Because if that's the case, how do you acclimate yourself by being involved?
You can't really acclimate yourself. You have to figure out a way to play in that. And that's my one thing about the Dolphins that I tell people, and that I've even knowing Mike McDaniel, like Mike McDaniel's been on our podcast. I've talked with him. I'm cool with him. I'm in South Florida. I actually, I'm working on opening a restaurant in Hard Rock Stadium. Like, I'm always down there. I want to see a team that can load up in a I formation and run the ball straight down somebody's throat. Because if you think about it, the Chiefs can do it with Pacheco. That physical style of football.
Because he runs hard. He runs angry.
That's what people do in the playoffs. The Ravens are already set up that way. Mike Tomlin, a good friend of mine, every time we have this conversation, he laughs because he knows that you're going to have to, at some point to win a Super Bowl, be able to load up and just physically whoop somebody's ass.
But that's also not a weather thing. Like
it is a weather thing because
that works better in that weather.
It works better in that weather because you can't go out there and be glitzy and glamour and all that stuff and motioning and spreading the offense and bringing it back in and all the stuff that. And it's a lot of people. Sean McVay does it. I love Sean McVay. Raheem Morris in Atlanta. It's a new coaching tree that's going on right now because it's McDaniel, it's Kyle Shanahan, it's McVay, it's all these young coaches that are coming out. Shane Steichen and the Colts. It's this new, that old Belichick Parcells tree of that 3-4 defense. It's not working anymore. It's not what the league is. So they have to have these new young guys, but the guys that can load up and physically just whoop somebody's butt in the line of scrimmage is the ones that are going to be able to do it at a championship level. The Dolphins last year, number 1 offense. Tua led the league in passing yards. They're going to be able to do that. At some point, you got to be able to load up and beat somebody's tail. And that's the thing that great teams can do. And that's why Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, at any year, they're going to win double-digit games because of the fact that he can load up and say, you know what, my man back here, this big tailback, he can run downhill. He'll get you 8 yards a pop, and that's what it becomes.
Then follow this logic then. For the Dolphins, I just think about the Dolphins, too. Everybody uses as the example who can't win in cold. So they need to, in the AFC East, they need to win every game early, lose. The Patriots are going to suck. So they may even go and be cold and beat the Patriots. Yeah. And then they need to have home field advantage for the entire playoffs. And obviously the Super Bowl is going to be mostly somewhere warm or indoors. That's their ticket. Win a bunch early, lose a couple cold ones into the season, and then have home field the whole time. That's probably the only way they can win it.
If they can't run the ball, if they can't play a physical style of football,
I mean,
that's
A-Chain and Mostert? I mean, but they don't.
A-Chain, Mostert, the boy from Tennessee that just got is a monster as well. They literally put a track team together. But that would be the answer. They're going to have, but to your point, they're going to have to go somewhere and win a cold game. AFC's low. I would love to be in NFC. NFC is nothing. Who the NFC got? Right. The Eagles, 49ers.
Cowboys.
Who?
Yeah, right.
Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
The Cowboys?
Yes, sir.
You a Cowboys fan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Dak is going to get to the playoffs and do exactly what Dak's done his entire career.
Yeah.
He's going to be very highly paid and losing the playoffs. The NFC has 4 teams. The AFC has 12.
The AFC has a lot of great quarterbacks.
The AFC has 12 great quarterbacks, and that's the thing that the Dolphins are going to have to deal with. But I don't care how many games they win. They're going to have to go somewhere and win a game late in January. One of those weekends in January, they're going to have to go out of Miami and win a game in cold weather, or hopefully in a damn stadium somewhere.
What about travel fatigue? Like, is that a thing?
It's really not. These dudes have you pay them too much money. These people make $50 million a year. Travel fatigue, my butt. Get out of here and go play football. Go play football. Short week. When you play Sunday and then Thursday, that means something.
And then London.
When you go to London,
Brazil.
that means something. But when they're talking about, it's a West Coast trip, you ain't kiss my butt. There ain't nobody worried about the damn West Coast trip. Go play ball.
Your mom has herpes. Your dad has syphilis.
Oh, my God.
And check out the pivot. The pivot. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Great
you,
job,
man.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
A lot of people think they can be a sportscaster.
Yes.
It's tough. But a lot of people think they can just do it by watching and seeing how easy good people make it. In college and after college a bit, I was the play-by-play guy for a Division II football team and basketball team for a while, and we would get beat 70-0, and that was hard. It's very hard. It's harder when there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
It's like getting pounded.
Because you have to entertain them, right?
It's just what do you do?
Yeah.
Right. And not only that, on the road, when I would travel, they couldn't afford the color guy, so I had to do both.
Oh man.
But it's also there were 4 people listening, but it was difficult. It's a difficult job. Your brother-in-law thinks he can do it.
Yes, he like every time I watch games with him, he's like, "Look, what's so hard about it? You just say what happened, then you make a little joke about it." And they said, "Look, right now they're going to lose 5 yards. It's going to get sacked." And it happens. He goes, "Could have told you that."
Oh.
Buddy, relax. It's hard. It's easy to do it for 5 minutes, I bet, a couple minutes, but you can do it for a whole game. Get out of here. It's tough.
It would be like someone, Eddie, going, Eddie, what you do every single day, there's nothing to it. Your job is so easy.
Yeah, you just talk to a microphone.
You're talking to a microphone.
Exactly.
And they'd be right.
No.
It's not true. You think Tom Brady's going to be good?
Yeah. Just because he's going to put the work in. You have a boner over him, but, but I'm saying
Kevin.
because I think he'll put
Yes.
the work in to actually be good more than anything he's shown has. I've watched him do some interviews. I don't think he's shown me anything that's going to be wow, but I think he'll put the work in to actually be really great. But same thing with Romo. It was like Romo never did anything really in media except a Skechers commercial where I'd
True.
be like, dang, he's going to be good.
Those were good commercials.
Yeah. So, all right, that's it. Thank you guys. That's it. Eddie, blow the whistle. We're out of here. See you guys.